There's a fruit that destroyed democracies. A fruit that caused coups. That created the term banana republic. That killed thousands of workers. That turned entire countries into corporate slaves. And it's sitting in your kitchen right now. The banana. You eat it without thinking. It's cheap. It's everywhere. It costs what? 50 cents? $1? But here's what they don't tell you. That banana was grown on land stolen by corporations, by workers paid pennies. In countries where governments were overthrown because they tried to raise wages. The banana isn't just a fruit. It's evidence of a crime. Every banana you eat is connected to one of the darkest corporate conspiracies in history. This is the story of how one American company turned 7 countries into plantations. How they bribed every government official from mayors to presidents. How they hired death squads to murder union leaders. How they convinced the US government to overthrow democracies. And how they got away with all of it. Buckle up, because what happened over bananas will make you question everything you thought you knew about corporate power, American foreign policy, and the fruit in your breakfast. Warning, you might never look at bananas the same way again. 1870s, Americans discovered bananas. They've never seen this fruit before. It's exotic, sweet, easy to eat, and demand explodes. But here's the problem. Bananas don't grow in the United States. They grow in tropical climates. Central America, Caribbean, South America. So American entrepreneurs see an opportunity. Massive demand. No local supply. Enormous profit potential. One man named Miner Keith sees the biggest opportunity. He's building a railroad in Costa Rica. The project is failing. Workers are dying from disease. The Costa Rican government can't pay him. So Keith makes a deal. Give me 800,000 acres of land and 99 years of tax exemption, and I'll finish the railroad for free. Costa Rica agrees. They're desperate. Keith plants bananas along the railroad, uses the railroad to transport bananas to ports, ships them to America. It's a perfect vertical integration. He owns the land, the railroad, the shipping company, everything from plantation to American store. And the profits are insane. Bananas cost almost nothing to produce. Land is free stolen. Labor is dirt cheap, exploited workers. Transport is cheap, his own railroad. But bananas sell in America for premium prices. Exotic fruit. Luxury item. By 1899, Keith merges with another banana trader to form the United Fruit Company, UFC. And this is when things get truly evil. UFC realizes something. Banana profits depend on cheap land and cheap labor. The cheapest land is in Central America. The cheapest labor is desperate workers with no rights. So UFC creates a business model. Find countries with weak governments. Buy enormous tracts of land for nothing. Hire workers at starvation wages. Ship bananas to America, make huge profits. But this requires political control. Governments might raise wages, might demand taxes, might try to take land back. UFC's solution. Control the governments. They start bribing politicians at every level. Mayors, judges, police chiefs, generals, presidents. Anyone who can be bought is bought. Anyone who can't be bought is threatened. By 1910, UFC owns 3.5 million acres across Central America. That's more land than any Central American government controls. They own the railroads, the ports, the telegraph lines, the ships. In some countries, they are the infrastructure. Guatemala, 40% of the country's land is owned by UFC. Colombia, Honduras, Costa Rica, all dominated by UFC. But here's what's truly dystopian. UFC creates company towns. Workers live in UFC housing, shop at UFC stores, use UFC currency that's only accepted in UFC stores, get paid in scrip instead of real money. It's slavery with extra steps. Workers can't leave because they're in debt to the company. They can't buy from other stores because their money is worthless elsewhere. And if they complain, they're fired and evicted, blacklisted across the industry. Starve or submit. Those are the options. But UFC's control is about to face its first real challenge. And their response will shock you. Colombia. Banana workers go on strike. Their demands are simple. Pay us in real money, not company scrip. Give us Sundays off. Provide basic medical care. Stop forcing us to work 14-hour days. UFC refuses every demand, so workers strike. 32,000 workers. The entire banana industry in Colombia stops. UFC goes to the Colombian government and demands they break the strike. The government hesitates. These are legitimate demands. These are their citizens. UFC responds with a threat. Break the strike or we leave Colombia. Take our railroads, our ports, our infrastructure. Your economy will collapse. The Colombian government caves. They send the army. December 6, 1928, Shinaga workers and families gather in the town square. They're peaceful, unarmed. The army surrounds them and opens fire. They shoot into the crowd for 10 minutes. Then they bring in machine guns. Then they use bayonets on the wounded. When it's over, the bodies are loaded onto trains, dumped into the ocean, buried in mass graves. How many died? The Colombian government claimed 47. Workers say over 2,000. The real number is probably somewhere in between. But here's what's crucial. UFC orchestrated this. They didn't pull the triggers, but they gave the orders. They convinced the government that murder was necessary for business. And there were zero consequences. No investigations. No arrests. UFC kept operating. Kept making profits. The massacre was erased from history. For decades, the Colombian government denied it happened. Called it communist propaganda. It wasn't until Gabriel Garcia Marquez wrote 100 Years of Solitude in 1967 that the world learned about the Banana Massacre. But this was just the beginning, because UFC discovered something powerful. Governments will murder their own citizens to protect corporate profits. And once you know that, you can do anything. 1930s, 1940s, UFC expands their control. They're not just bribing governments anymore. They're installing them. Honduras elects a president who wants to raise banana taxes. UFC funds a coup. New president. No taxes. Guatemala elects a reformist leader. UFC doesn't like him. They fund his opponents. When that doesn't work, they fund a military coup. Costa Rica's government tries to regulate working conditions. UFC threatens to leave. The regulations disappear. By 1950, UFC effectively controls 6 countries: Guatemala, Honduras, Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, Ecuador. They own the governments. Not metaphorically. Literally. Presidents take orders from UFC executives. The countries are called banana republics. It's not a joke. It's an accurate description. Republics that exist to produce bananas for an American corporation. But then something unexpected happens. Democracy. Guatemala elects Jacobo Arbenz. He's a reformer. He wants to help Guatemalan workers and farmers. And he does something unforgivable. He looks at UFC's land holdings. UFC owns 550,000 acres in Guatemala. They're only cultivating 15% of it. The rest sits unused, while Guatemalan farmers have no land. Arbenz passes a land reform law. Unused land will be redistributed to landless farmers. Owners will be compensated based on the value they declared for tax purposes. UFC has been massively undervaluing their land to avoid taxes. They claimed it was worth $3 per acre. So that's what the government offers. UFC is furious. They demand $75 per acre. The Guatemalan government refuses. So UFC does something that will change history. They convince the United States government that Guatemala is communist. This is 1954. Cold War paranoia is at its peak. The word communist is a magic spell that justifies anything. And UFC has connections. The US Secretary of State. His law firm represented UFC. The CIA director. His brother worked for UFC. The US ambassador to the UN. He was on UFC's board. UFC essentially owns the US government's foreign policy apparatus. They tell Eisenhower, Guatemala is turning communist. It's a Soviet threat. We need to act. None of this is true. Arbenz isn't communist. He's a democratic reformer. But UFC has enough power to rewrite reality. And the CIA believes them. Or pretends to believe them. June 1954. The CIA launches Operation Pubsucks. The goal: overthrow Guatemala's democratically elected government and install a military dictator who will protect UFC's interests. The CIA trains Guatemalan exiles, gives them weapons, provides air support, runs propaganda radio stations spreading lies about Arbenz being a Soviet agent. They bomb Guatemala City. Not military targets. Civilian areas, creating terror. The Guatemalan army, seeing that the US is backing the coup, refuses to defend the government. They know they can't win against American power. Arbenz resigns, flees the country. A military colonel named Castillo Armas takes over. One of his first acts: reverse the land reform. Give all the land back to UFC. The CIA celebrates. They've saved Guatemala from communism. But here is what actually happened. The US government overthrew a democracy to protect a corporation as profits. And the consequences are catastrophic. Castillo Armas bans unions, bans political parties, bans free speech, executes thousands of suspected communists, which means anyone who supported land reform. This starts a civil war that lasts 36 years. 200,000 people die, mostly indigenous Guatemalans murdered by US-backed military death squads. The Guatemalan genocide, one of the worst atrocities of the 20th century, caused by a coup orchestrated to protect banana profits. And UFC, they continue operating, continue making money. Zero consequences. But the Guatemala coup has another effect. It inspires other coups across Latin America. Brazil, 1964. Military coup backed by US. Reason: protect American corporate interests. Chile, 1973. Pinochet coup backed by CIA. Reason: protect American mining companies. Argentina, 1976. Military junta backed by US. Reason: protect American businesses. The UFC model becomes the template. Corporation wants something, government refuses. CIA organizes coup. Install dictator. Problem solved. Across Latin America, the pattern repeats. Dozens of democracies overthrown. Hundreds of thousands killed. All to protect corporate profits. And it all started with bananas. But here's what's remarkable. Despite all this power, despite controlling governments and militaries, UFC eventually loses. Because they made one fatal mistake. They relied on a single variety of banana. Here is something you don't know. The banana you eat today isn't the banana your grandparents ate. Until 1950, everyone ate Gros Michel bananas. They were bigger, sweeter, better than modern bananas. But Gros Michel had a problem. Vulnerability to a fungus called Panama disease. Panama disease kills banana plants. And it spreads through soil. Once your plantation is infected, the land is dead for decades. UFC didn't care. They had so much land that when one plantation died, they'd just move to fresh land. Abandon the infected soil. Clear new jungle. Plant new bananas. For 50 years, this worked. UFC had millions of acres. Seemed infinite. But Panama disease kept spreading. By 1960, it had infected most of Central America. The Gros Michel banana was going extinct. UFC had to switch to a different variety. Cavendish. The banana you eat today. Cavendish is more resistant to Panama disease. But it's inferior in every way. Less flavorful. More fragile. Shorter shelf life. But it was the only option. By 1965, Gros Michel was commercially dead. And here's the kicker. UFC's entire business model collapsed. All that stolen land. Infected and useless. All those plantations. Abandoned. The corporation that controlled governments, orchestrated coups, and murdered thousands, was brought down by a fungus. But UFC didn't die. They just rebranded. United Fruit Company changes its name to United Brands. Then to Chiquita Brands International. Same company, same leadership, same business model, different name. And they continued the same practices. Bribing officials, exploiting workers, funding violence. 1990s Chiquita is caught funding Colombian paramilitary death squads. They pay these groups to murder union organizers. U.S. Department of Justice investigates. Chiquita admits to paying $1.7 million to terrorist organizations. Their punishment, a $25 million fine. No executives go to jail. The company continues operating. Chiquita is sued by families of murdered Colombian workers. The evidence is overwhelming. Chiquita funded the groups that killed their loved ones. Chiquita settles out of court, admits no wrongdoing, pays relatively small damages. Another lawsuit. More evidence of funding death squads. Still operating. Still making profits. The banana industry today is still built on the same model. Cheap land, cheap labor, political corruption, violence when necessary. The countries are still poor. The workers are still exploited. The profits still flow to American corporations. Nothing changed except the name. Go to your kitchen. Pick up a banana. Look at the sticker. Chiquita Dole, Del Monte. These aren't just brands. They're crime syndicates with corporate charters. That banana in your hand. Grown on land that was stolen. By workers paid $2 per day. In countries where union organizers are murdered. And you bought it for 50 cents. How is it so cheap? Because the real costs are invisible. The environmental cost. Massive deforestation. Pesticide pollution. Soil depletion. The human cost. Child labor. Poverty wages. Exposure to toxic chemicals. The political cost. Corrupted governments. Failed democracies. Militarized societies. None of that appears in the price. You pay 50 cents. Someone else pays with their life. This is how global capitalism actually works. Not the version in textbooks. Not the rising tide lifts all boats mythology. The reality. Rich countries enjoy cheap products because poor countries are kept poor. Corporations profit enormously by externalizing costs onto workers and environments. And when countries try to change the system, when workers demand fair wages, when governments try to regulate coups, violence, economic warfare, the banana industry proved that corporations have more power than governments. That American corporations can overthrow foreign democracies with US government help. And that model expanded beyond bananas. Oil companies, mining companies, manufacturing, all operating on the same playbook. Find weak countries, extract resources, exploit labor, corrupt governments, use violence when necessary, profit, different industries, same system, same results. The banana republics weren't unique, they were templates. Today, there are banana republic principles operating worldwide. Countries dependent on single exports controlled by foreign corporations. Governments that serve corporate interests over citizen needs. Workers trapped in poverty while executives make millions. We're all living in banana republics now. Some of us just don't see the plantations. And here's the most disturbing part. We're complicit. Every time we buy the cheapest banana, we're voting for this system. We know it's too cheap. We know someone is paying the real cost. But we buy it anyway, because it's convenient. The banana companies count on this. They know we won't investigate, won't question, won't care enough to pay extra. And they're right. We don't. So here's what bananas really teach us. Capitalism without ethics is indistinguishable from organized crime. United Fruit Company operated like a mafia. They bribed officials, eliminated competition through violence, controlled entire regions through fear and money. The only difference? They had corporate lawyers and government backing. For 100 years, one company destroyed democracies, murdered workers, and enslaved entire countries. For fruit, for profit margins, and they got away with it. The executives died rich and respected. The company still operates. The bananas still flow. There's a term for what happened: state capture. When corporations become so powerful they control governments, rather than being controlled by them. United Fruit captured 6 governments. Today, corporations have captured far more. Through lobbying, through campaign finance, through regulatory capture, the Banana Republic model went global. And we let it happen, because we wanted cheap bananas, cheap coffee, cheap chocolate, cheap everything. We didn't ask where it came from, how it got so cheap, who paid the real price. We just ate the bananas. The question is, now that you know, what do you do? You can't unfruit the plantations, can't undo the coups, can't bring back the murdered workers. But you can stop pretending your consumer choices are neutral. Stop acting like cheap prices don't have human costs. Every banana you buy is a political act. You're either supporting the system or resisting it. What do you think? Can ethical consumption exist under or are we all complicit in this Banana Republic world? Drop your thoughts in comments. Because 100 years ago, an American company realized they could overthrow governments and murder workers for profit. And the only thing stopping them was whether people would keep buying bananas. People kept buying. The company kept killing. The bananas kept coming. And nothing changed. That sticker on your banana, it's not just a brand. It's a confession. Will you keep buying?